What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part two of my reviewing and ranking Moe's Warts and All, their archival concert release series that sadly only had a run of six, but a very entertaining and very good six. And my Moe, currently going through a Moe listening phase, so I thought I would drop this. They have covered San Bernardino, quote Zappa, including in this show I'm going to talk about today. So they're very aware of Frank. But what this series is are complete shows. Volume 2 is a complete show from February 23rd, 2002, with an absolutely ridiculously awesome hidden track at the end from the show the night before in the same venue. Both of them in the Tabernacle in Atlanta, Georgia. And the previous volume was from 2001, and Moe is a band that doesn't really change its vibe from year to year or tour to tour, whatever a tour may constitute. It's your typical jam band type thing where as they write new songs, they just kind of roll them into the set list, and some stick around, become staples, some don't, other things get dropped, that kind of thing. They bring something back and for the first time in 4 years, and everybody goes crazy because we haven't heard of Dr. Grafenberg in forever, things like that. So this is a pretty standard set list from this era. I don't think there's anything spectacular as far as songs that are dropped. But yeah, it's a pretty standard, typical, jammy show from Moe in 2002. Disc 1 is most of set 1, except for the final 24-minute Kids. And it starts off with 5 sort of your standard songs. Moe kind of has 2 songs. They have your kind of short songs, which have sort of a restricted format solo, where you're going to get a solo, but it's almost always going to be the same length. And they're not note for note the same, but they're generally the same vibe, like a Dead type, You're not going to get something that much different in like what's a good Dead example? I'm not thinking of any. Like a Touch of Grey, right? So you get a run of 5 songs, which are like your normal songs. And it's a pretty good selection. You get an Okay All Right, which is like just a straight up rocker. Some really good rock lines in there. She Sends Me, which I really like. Really catchy. It's got a good hook. Got a fun breakdown in the middle where they kick kind of fast and upbeat. The jam is kind of cool. A Spaz Medicine, which is a little more proggy, really fast. Very jam bandy, just really fast lines, kind of quirky, but it's got a nice jam in the middle. Understand, which is more of a poppy type thing. Some good lyrics, one of their more mature songs. And then you get A Letter Home, which is kind of like more of a ballady type thing. Nice, diverse set of 5, some really good playing, some songs representing a number of different albums. So it's nice. But then after Letter Home, you get the rest of the set, which is, the rest of the set is 51 minutes long. So the rest of the set, which essentially comprises 2 songs, is the first part of the set was 18, 20, 31. Yeah, so the first 6 songs are about 31 minutes. The last 2 songs are 51 minutes. And you get a Timmy Tucker, and we just drop into the Timmy Tucker. This is a 28-minute Timmy Tucker that doesn't have any sort of lead in. All of a sudden, we're just like, we're in the song. Chuck takes a great solo in this. We kind of bring things down. Al gets a solo in this. But really, after we get like sort of the Timmy Tucker standard solos, we get this absolutely awesome segue into Kids that is the reason I think Moe is a great jam band, is because they're really patient in their jams. They really let things just develop, and they take their time. And there is this awesome moment, 5-6 minutes of this jam that you kind of can hear like the fading echoes of Timmy Tucker, and you kind of see that it's going a Kid's direction. It's getting that kind of upbeat, a little more bouncy, somewhat Caribbean vibe, but it's not either one of those things. It's this middle ground of just free-floating improv, and maybe nobody's soloing, but everybody's adding flavor and eyebrows. And at some point, Rob usually gets some cool solo, but it's not a full-on breakdown solo. He just starts taking the lead on bass. You got some nice percussion coming in there. Just an absolute gorgeous sort of nowhere man's land of improvisation between these two songs. And those are the moments that are just like out of time and out of space and are just absolutely perfect. And that's how this disc ends, is right when we're starting to kind of get the first note of kids, and you're like, okay, they're definitely going into kids. The disc fades out. Disc 2 fades in with kids. And kids is pretty good. It's not my favorite of their newer jammy songs from this era, but it's got a pretty good solo in it. Not a really big fan of the lyrics, even though they do give my name a shout out. Don't think they're talking about me because I don't know them. But it's good. It's a solid performance. It's a great kids. But the special part, the really, really, to me, special part is that Timmy Tucker all the way through that jam right before they drop into kids. That's just like next level stuff. That's magical. And then after kids, the first set ends. And then the second set picks up on disc 2 with a Mexico. And we get one of those really nice ambient jams before the Mexico, where it's clearly going to be a Mexico, but we get near 8 minutes of them just like making ambient noises and not really jamming, but just dropping cool phrases and licks and kind of just exploring different, very kind of spacey energies. And like nobody's in a rush to get to the song. They're letting this sort of develop and simmer. So by the time we drop into Mexico, it's not even really a full drop, as if we just kind of unfold ourselves into the song. And the next thing you know, we're in a Mexico. And it's a great Mexico. And the jam at the end is absolutely fantastic. And they ride that hard and they take that to great places. And again, we get this, not as long as we did with the Timmy Tucker kids, but we get this no man's land where we're out of Mexico, but we're not yet into Happy Hour Hero. And so it's almost just like, you don't even get hints of Happy Hour Hero. And there's this 2 or 3, maybe 4 minutes where they're just, again, in this nowhere man's land of improvisation. And then we start to get a little bit of the do-do-do-do-do-do, but we're not committed to it. So we like this do-do-do-do-do-do, and we go off again, where they're just, you know what they're going to go into. You know at any point they're going to drop into it. But they take their time and they tease it. And like, yeah, we're just going to mess around with his opening lick before we finally actually play it. And it just makes the arrival of the song more satisfying. I think it imbues it with maybe a little bit of emotion because it's carrying whatever Mexico is giving it. We get a really solid Happy Hour hero with that awesome closing solo. Seat of My Pants follows just as it did on the previous release. So we get that really, really awesome, less of a no man's land because you're clearly going to go into Seat of My Pants, but we're like sort of the, working in a bar, the kind of depressive aspect of like being a bar band, but at the same time you love it. That sort of bittersweet, exhaustive experience of that energy gives way to the more upbeat, chaotic, weird Seat of My Pants energy. And that sort of transition, when you know where they're going, but they're still not going directly there. Like, here's Seat of My Pants and here's Happy Hour Hero. And they're like, okay, we're just going to go this way, and then we'll get there. And another one of those, just fun, freewheeling, just a band that's just so locked in and so tight. Absolutely fantastic. And then when Seat of My Pants ends, we drop into a Sensory Deprivation Bank. Great title, great lyrics, fun solo in this one. There's a solo, but again, this is a little more of a, we know what we're going to do. We're not really going to jam this out. You can expect this song to be about 6 or 7 minutes long, but it just delivers, and it's exactly what's needed after the Mexico Happy Hour seat, which is like close to 50 minutes long, those 3 songs. Just exhilarating stuff. But then I think we still have the best moment to come, possibly. No, I think that Timmy Tucker Kids jam is the best. Disc 3 opens up with a 4. Love 4. It's a weird kind of slow Chuck song. He does a little bit where he plays guitar and sings at the same time, so it gives us this weird sort of spacey vibe at times. Can you see it? There's weird sort of emotion behind this, but it's kind of low key. And then we get a really, really nice Chuck solo that just kind of builds on this emotion. It's not necessarily a Morning Dew as that quality, but that kind of vibe where the solo at the end is taking this sort of restrained energy and just building on it and building on it. But when Chuck reaches the peak of his solo, like we're not volcanoing, but we're definitely wrapping up our ideas and about to like wrap up the song, he slides right into the Inca Roads, that riff, that pre-written part that Frank drops at the end of his solos before they go into the second half of Inca Roads. And they just slide into it so effortlessly. And it is so beautiful. And it's just like, yeah, you could think this was a Zappa Inca Roads. Like, it is just, it's magical. Of course, I love Inca Roads, so that's what makes it magical. But it also sounds perfect, even if you don't know Inca Roads, because you're like, oh, that's a cool lick. Yeah, it's from Frank Zappa's Inca Roads. Check it out if you don't know. Then after we get that, we sort of kind of simmer down, and then the marimbas step in, or the whatever percussions. I don't think it's xylophone. The Jim is playing, and we are clearly heading into a rebubula. We get that very typical pre-rebubula, very upbeat, very percussion-oriented jam. We're teasing that lick. Eventually, we drop into that dun, 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 that opening riff, and we're off into a fantastic rebubula. A really, really, really nice jam in the middle that's absolutely spectacular. The pre-dun drop in the middle is pretty good, but once they do that drop and they're jamming it towards the second half of the song, they really take that to some pretty fantastic levels. And that's the end of the second set, and then the encore is Fire, which is not a song I've ever been a fan of, but they say they are out of time. They have very little time, so it's a 2-minute version of Fire, which does make sense because the second set was something like an hour. Yeah, the second set was like 93, 94 minutes long. And then the hidden track at the end of Fire is a 28-minute, I think the entire thing is 28-minute, Spine of a Dog into Buster. And the Spine of a Dog jam just goes dark and evil and crazy and psychotic and out there and twisted. And it is just absolutely glorious. And then, of course, after the craziness of that, everything kind of calms down before we head off into a really well-played Buster. And it's from the day before, the night before the main show on this. It is spectacular. It is an awesome, awesome, awesome hidden track, even though I think everybody knows about it. I don't think there's much space between the end of Fire and the hidden track. Like, they clearly aren't trying to hide it, but it's buried there for whatever reason, which is weird because don't you get money if you like have more tracks on an album? Like, licensing gives you more. So it's interesting that they would bury this as a hidden track because it is so good. But anyways, yeah, fantastic show. Absolutely fantastic show. Like, those segues are just ridiculous. That Timmy Tucker, the kids part, the Mexico happy hour seat, all those are fantastic. And then the Inca Roads in 4. I really, really like this show. Question is, where would I put it if I had to compare it to the first one? I went back and forth on this for a long time. But I have it as number 2 so far. I put the first one slightly above it. I think the first set on the first one is better. The head opener, you get 3 short songs, and then you get a monster Moth Timmy Tucker. And the Moth Timmy Tucker is just, I think, the best. The Timmy Tucker Kids Jam is that 5 or 6 minutes is probably better, but the Moth Timmy Tucker on a whole is better than Timmy Tucker Kids. So I would give the first set to set 1. And even though the first volume does have Waiting for the Punchline, it's got a great happy hour seats, it's got a tambourine, and it's got a Kyle's Meet Moth reprise that is next level. Not a big difference between 1 and 2. I mean, they're pretty close. They're both pretty enjoyable. I will gladly reach for either one of these anytime I'm in the mood for Mo. But I'm going to give the slight nod, very, very slight nod, to Volume 1. And Volume 1 includes a Waiting for the Punchline, which I'm not a big fan of that jam, but that's how much the rest of it's able to push it over the edge for me. Though it's close. It's very, very close. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think if you listen to this. Would love to know anybody who checks Mo out for the first time because of this. That's what I'm trying to do, at least turn one person onto this. That would be awesome. That's all I got. Going to see Amon Amarth and Cannibal Corpse. Who else is playing? Oblivion. Yeah, so off to bang my head. Mental health will drive me mad. Something like that. I know. All right, peace. Subscribe, like, share, do all those things. Peace. Talk to you later.